Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. A quote very famously said by Nelson Mandela. Good afternoon to all the participants present here. On behalf of Institute of Professional Excellence in Management, I, Anubha Gamat, extend a warm welcome to everyone to the National E-Seminar on the topic New National Educational Policy, Transforming Vision into Action, which is organized by IPEM Group of Institutions, Gazeta. The institute was established in 1996 in the heart of Ghaziabad under the aegis of Lux Educational Society, registered under the Societies Act 1860. IPEM has emerged as the epitome of world-class education and imparts value-based education. We amalgamate curiosity and dedication to ensure that all our students are self-driven towards the learning. The college serves as an innovative center to focus on imparting knowledge through wide exposure and frequent research and scholarship. Focusing on innovation and discipline, the college has received accreditation for being the best college in India and especially in Delhi NCR region. And we have also recently have been accredited by NAC A grade. The new education policy covers elementary education to higher education in both rural as well as urban India. The first NEP was promulgated by the Government of India by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1968. The second by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1986 and the third by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2020. The education policy has been changed after 34 years with an aim to make it more relevant to Indian society and culture. The seminar will bring light into each and every aspect of new national education policy in detail. This seminar will be a platform for all academicians, parents, and students to come all together to learn, share, and discuss the topic with learning experts. This would be definitely a great knowledge sharing event. We will start our seminar with the welcome address by Dr. Dolly Phillips, Dean Outreach and International Programs, IPEM Gazeta. Dr. Dolly Phillips, Dean Outreach and International Programs, has more than 24 years of experience in academics. She has done her graduation from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University, and has been postgraduated from Delhi Schools of Economics, Delhi. Her articles and research papers are published in various national and international reputed journals. Over to you, ma'am.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You are on mute, Miss Anuba.
Yes. Okay. So there was a certain technical glitches that we are into. So I am extending my hearty welcome to the chief guest of the day, Advocate Ajay Inder Sangwan, who has been the secretary with the Bar Council of Delhi, and our eminent speakers and experts of the day. We have four speakers who would be delivering the session today. And first is our Mr. Nimesh Kapoor, who had been the principal scientist and head. Is it audible? Head Science Vigyan Prasad, the Department of Science and Technology, Mr. Arvind Kumar, who had been the professor and dean with the JNU Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi, under the banner of Atal Bihari Vajpayee School of Management and Entrepreneurship. Dr. Avinash, who had been the dean and professor in law at GLA University, and Dr. Mohammad Shahid Siddiqui, who had been the professor in the Department of Education at Aligarh Muslim University. So I would like to give a brief about what is our topic on new national education policy, where our speakers and our chief guests will be going for the deliberations, as in what all suggestions, improvements, and implementations could be done. So what I feel today is that the topic for today's webinar is very relevant and important in the context of the national education policy. The education policy and education system is very important medium in meeting the aspirations of the country today. So we all know this fact that education being one of the important portfolios for the country, this has become a major decision tool for our society now. So the central government, the state government, the local bodies, all the parents, teachers, and students have been involved and associated with the responsibility of the education system. We've been working on the national education policy in the last 4-5 years, and all the parents, students, academicians, teachers, education managers, professionals, all have offered their suggestions on the different aspects towards the drafting of the education policy. The national education policy is now being welcomed everywhere due to the nectar that has emerged after such profound, extensive, and diversified discussions. We are seeing observing that there is a widespread discussion and debate in the country which is going on regarding the national education policies and its implementation. But this discussion of today, wherein we would be discussing with a panel of experts today, will define that the national education policy is not just limited to reforms in the methods of schooling, but also it is going to give a new direction to the social and economic spheres in the 21st century India. Today, the world is widely debating the rapidly changing job and the nature of work. We hope that this policy will prepare the youth of the country on two major aspects, that is the knowledge and the skills to keep up with the demands of the future. So the new education policy, what we understand so far, it focuses on learning rather than on studying, and it is emphasizing on critical thinking beyond the curriculum. So we strongly believe that this policy will emphasize on the passion, practicality, and performance of our students. So it's focusing on the learning of the students. So this focus on foundation, learning and languages and outcomes and teachers training. So we personally believe that it is very essential for the youth to be skillful in order to make India a self-reliant country by connecting or giving the exposure to our vocational programs, which our national education policy is suggesting. And we aim at that our students and our youth of our country will not only excel domestically, but also they will be aiming high at international levels. So what we understand is that the new educational policy has opened up the door for the establishment of the best international institutions in the country for the youth of the ordinary families and to tackle brain drain. This education policy, we understand, it is not the government policy. It is actually a country policy as it is focusing and aiming on the aspirations of our own country. So in the view of the rapidly changing times, comprehensive provisions have been made in the policy, keeping in view the future. We also hope that with the pandemic, everybody has observed that due to the pandemic situation, even in the remote areas of the villages and downtrodden areas, the students can access to the networking scenario, which can help them and they can uplift their standards. So I am just transferring my, an initial introduction about the new national education policy, and we are giving on board the deliberations of all the speakers for the day. So all the very best and thanks. Thank you, ma'am, for welcoming all the speakers and telling us the brief about the new education policy. Now I take this opportunity to invite the director of our institution, Dr. R.K. Singhal, sir, for director of address. Dr. R.K. Singhal, director IPEM Ghaziabad, has been working as a director at IPEM and previously worked as a professor in head at ABES. Dr. Singer holds position currently as Associate
शेयर
Dean
स्क्रीन कैसे करूँ?
at AKTA, Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow, since 2016. Dr. Singer is a BTech PGDBM and is certified in supply chain from IIT Kanpur and has worked in industry and academic fields and have an overall experience of more than 48 years. He visited and taught Indian HR practices and negotiations for 2 years at VIU, Vancouver Island University, Canada, during summer. He has also chaired the sessions in international conferences at Shanghai, China, and Dubai, and has presented the papers already. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Just hold on for a minute. किसी सेमिनार के नाम से Hold on for a minute.
Sir, you're not visible right now.
I am able to hear. Just a minute.
Okay, sir, sure.
Just a minute. Just a minute. आप दिखाई दे रहे हो? Not able to see. कैसे ठीक होगा? हटा लो। कैसे हटाओ? Squad. Good afternoon to all. I am very sorry I delayed my presence just because I could not share my PPT. Thank you, Dolly ma'am. Wonderful welcome address. I once again welcome my speakers, my audience. Let me start my address. See, basically, I'll start why we have decided to hold this seminar. We set certain objectives, as rightly said by ma'am. It is a topic of national forum. It's a national concern. It's a national topic today. But working in institutions, we decided to hold a small seminar, national seminar, helping the people basically who are working in education industries for the implementation and understanding of this national education policy. The first objective that we have said that to create more awareness about the national education policy. What are the key objectives of NEP? Third, what are the turnaround strategic strategies made by the government to make Indian education globally competitive? How higher education and schools can adopt and implement the provisions made by NEP? And most importantly, what are the roles and responsibility of a promoter, a faculty or a teacher, directors, principals in implementing this NEP at the ground level and effectively? I just wanted to share my idea. When I look upon a lot of people talked about, I recall what Nelson Mandela said: destroying any nation does not require the use of atomic bombs or the use of long-range missiles. It only requires lowering the quality of education and allowing cheating in the examination by the students. I just wanted to give an underlying message to my all faculty colleagues, principal, directors. Please look at when we hold examination, whether internal and external. It's the same saying, our nation collapse when our whole education system is going to be collapsed. Now come back to the topic of today, that is NEP 2020, 21, 22, whatever you call it. I just wanted to set a small background. It's not a new thing that we are talking about. If I go back, when even I have not taken birth myself, when we took independence in 1947, in 1948, the first independent government of India, they made one education commission in 1948 and basically addressed to the higher education only. Later on, after 4 or 5 years, the government realized, yes, 10+2 education after 8th standard, it required little attention. So they have set up a secondary education commission in 1952. Our journey does not stop here. When late Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi in 1968, the first time she came up with a national education policy on education. And she drafted a policy which basically, I remember, I go to the documents, it's basically combining the primary, secondary, and as well as the higher education. It is further updated in 1986, further modified in 1992, but still we cannot make our education globally competitive. We face a lot of drawbacks in our education system. But thankfully to this government, they came up with a new policy, which we call it National Education Policy 2020. They drafted and implemented in 29 July 2020. Friends, it's a very big framework. It's a vision that the new government has seen. I'll not take much time because I know my eminent speakers are waiting for. I just put on the highlights of NEP 2020. Although ma'am have already addressed, but let me tell you, before you listen the top eminent speakers, I just wanted to set this little background, right? So we have decided one aim to raise the GER in higher education, there is a gross enrollment ratio in higher education up to the 50% by 2025. We are replacing our 10+2 system in 5+3+3+4 education system. See, I'll not take much time. I just want to tell you, I request my speakers, I request my audience, please address all the points right from primary educations, secondary educations, as well as higher education, and help us, all the education principal directors, faculty members, institutions, how we can adopt new education policies, how we can implement education policies properly and effectively. So with this, I again thank you very much for all my audience, my speakers. Thank you very much. Over to ma'am. Thank you. Anuva ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. To welcome the chief guest of the day, Advocate Ajendra Sagwan. He is a chairman, disciplinary committee, Bar Council of India, Bar Council of Delhi, and secretary at Bar Council of Delhi. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this e-seminar, and it will be an absolute privilege to hear your views regarding the topic. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Respected Nimish Kapoor ji, respected Dr. Dolly, Arvind Kumar ji, Dr. Singhal ji, Dr. Mohammad Siddiqui, Dr. Neelam, and Rajesh, Advocate. First, I would like to thank you for organizing this seminar, which is of great importance for the nation, and also making me the chief guest. I'll start with a quote of George Bernard Shaw, who said, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their mindset cannot change anything." Change begins at the end of your comfort zone. If you want to change the future, you must change what you're doing in the present. And I'm really thankful to the present government for implementing and getting this national education policy. As Dolly has already apprised that this policy was approved on 29th July 2020, and it is replacing the existing education policy that was formulated in 1996. This policy begins with a very positive change. What is the aim of this policy? The aim of this policy is to make schooling for everyone. To reach, that education should reach to every citizen, every student of this country. It will help student to develop scientific temper from a very young age. Aim is that foreign colleges, they should come to your doorstep. You should, if you don't have money, so much money to travel abroad and study there, this education policy has taken care of that aspect also. What are the major outcome of NEP? Obviously, as new policy has come, there will be change of the ministry from HRD to Ministry of Education. And if a new policy comes, it comes with pros and cons. There are major pros in it and less of cons. The only con which I was able to gather was that this policy also is giving importance to the regional language. I don't think so that is a drawback. Much has been said about in various articles that regionalism will be promoted. But the bigger aim of the policy, like in India, what is our asset? Our asset is young population. The present existing policy was not serving. We never wondered why China is so ahead, why America is so ahead. In sports also, we get 2-3 medals and we enjoy so much. We give them hundreds of crores of rupees to whosoever won. We give them government jobs also. But we never ponder over. Now this present government has thought that if, like, we've been studying our KGs and first and second, much emphasis was on education, big bags, heavy bags, bookish knowledge. So we are shifting by way of this policy from bookish knowledge to practical knowledge. That is also the main object of this policy. There'll be other changes. There'll be single entrance test at the college level. Now 10+2 will be divided into 5+3+3+4. 5 years foundation stage, that will till second of class, then 3 years preparatory stage, that is 3+5, then the middle stage 6+2, then the secondary stage for 4 years 9 to 12. Students won't have that rigid courses. They will able to choose their own. Digital courses will be given importance as per the policy. And much emphasis of this policy is how to make one professional at a very young age. So this is also one of the major highlighter of this policy. And the other issue is the higher education. Under the national policy, a 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor degree will be provided to the student with a certificate each year. The degree of MPhil will be discontinued. The National Higher Regulatory Council will be regulate higher education that includes teachers and excludes medical and legal education. The National Testing Agency will be assigned the responsibility of conducting entrance exams. The changes under the IITs will be made with regard to the diversity of learning. The students will be provided with internationalized education to India. And obviously, to have good education, we need to have good teachers also. So this policy brings in that change. They have taken care of that aspect. It's a very exhaustive, very comprehensive scheme that the government has brought in. To become a successful, a 4-year bachelor degree is necessary to become a teacher. The aim of making this change is to ensure the students are taught by passionate, by motivated, high qualified, professional and well-equipped teachers. And apart from these changes, there are other little bit changes, like the Prime Minister of India will be the head of the National Education Commission. Academic Bank of India will provide help in education by utilizing funds. And most important aspect is that the budget of the education will also be increased. It will be roughly around, I think, 6% of GDP, which is very required, which is required for this nation, because our young population is our asset, and if we utilize to maximum, we'll be superpower in all ways. We won't have to depend on the bigger nations like America or Russia or Brazil for import of any equipments or weapons or so many things. And also, like our cream generation, they generally, after basic education of 10th and 12th, they run towards London, they run towards France or Canada. So this education is a very comprehensive education and policy which takes care of all the aspects. And I would also like to emphasize on pre-primary holistic education under NEP. It has been decided that pre-primary will also be added to overall education from next year. This is quite a great initiative and has been taken by the Ministry of Education to strengthen the online education based in school due to coronavirus. The Ministry of Education has suggested sending proposals under holistic education from all states. And one of the major aspects of this policy is the weight of the school bag will be reduced to 10% of what is today. It will be a boom for us. It will be boom to the present and future generation. To sum up, I would like to tell the benefits and the features of this policy. The Ministry of Human Resources will become the Ministry of Education. Education will be universalized under the new education policy, which excludes medical and law college. Earlier, the pattern of 10+2 was followed, but now the pattern of 5+3+4 will be followed. Previously, there was a science, commerce, and arts, but now there will be no such stream. Students can choose a subject as a wish. They can study along with. Student will be taught coding with 6 standards. All school will be digitally equipped. All types of contents will be translated into regional language. Along with that, virtual tabs will be developed. Recently, our Prime Minister was also there in a seminar with the Chief Justice of India. And he openly said that justice should not only be done, it should be seen also. So not only lawyers, it is now the official language in High Court and Supreme Court is English. So Prime Minister was of the view that why not Hindi, or why not at least the judgment. So now certain high courts have started that the judgments will be passed in the regional languages and in Hindi also. But the Prime Minister, he urged the Chief Justice that you please ensure, because some students, they cannot portray, or they cannot express their views, or some advocates, they cannot express their views in English being the official language, but they can argue very well. It is a mother tongue. And it is very strange that we still are following this colonial law that the English should be the compulsory language or language of the youth. So even the Chief Justice of India, he gave a positive response. He said he will think it over. He will have discussions with the other Chief Justices of the High Courts and the other puny judges of the Supreme Court. So this government is thinking in a very positive way. And also the other highlights is that the students will be able to study Sanskrit and other ancient languages of India if they want. Board exams will happen twice a year to reduce the burden from the shoulders of the student. Artificial intelligence software will be used to make learning easier. MPhil degree from higher education is being abolished. Students will be taught 3 languages and student will determine. So the emphasis is to transform the education policy for the betterment, for the complement with the international standards. Hopefully, it is very soon, it will be implemented. It will become the major change that the Modi government has brought in, and hope it helps in rising our nation, making our nation much more skilled, much more richer in all ways. And thank you for organizing, especially the IPM Law Academy, for organizing this seminar and making me the chief guest, and keep organizing these kind of seminars. Though it was not my subject, but as a parent, it is my subject. As a brother, it is my subject. As a sister, it is my subject. As a student, it is my subject. As a citizen of this country, it is my subject. Because if we have good education, obviously, we will be the most superpower, which we aspire to be. And one day, India will be number 1 in all fields because of education only. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful and such detailed insights on the new national education policy. Me, and I'm sure all my fellow participants, feel enlightened by the knowledge. Before moving any further, I would like to request all my fellow participants to kindly turn on their cameras so that we can capture this session. All the participants are requested to turn on their cameras. Thank you, everybody. Now you can turn off your camera. Now I would like to invite convener of National E-Seminar on NEC, Dr. Neelam C. Ma'am, to deliver her vote of thanks to our Honorable Chief Guest. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you, Anubhav. It is a matter of pride for me that I am supporting a vote of thanks on behalf of the IPEM Group of Institutions. First of all, I extend my most sincere thanks to the Lord God for showering their blessings to make this event a success and a reality. A very special thanks to our Chief Guest, Advocate Ajendra Sangwan Sir, Secretary, Bar Council of Delhi, and Chairman, Disciplinary Committee, Bar Council of Delhi, who gave his vital time from his busy schedule to grace the event. So we thank you for accepting our invitation, for being here with us today. Your thoughts have truly inspired us. I would like to thank our Secretary, Mr. Anupam Goyal Sir, Director General, Sana Gill Sir, Dean Academic, Dr. Sugandha Goyal Ma'am, for their encouragement. They always backed us to tackle all challenges and obstacles. I want to extend our thanks to Director Sir, Dr. R.K. Singhal, our Dean Outreach, Dr. Dolly Philip Ma'am, for always supporting, guiding, and motivating us to conduct such a scholar event. I would like to thank the head and faculty of all the departments because no event can be successful without the team effort. I would like to thank the admin team, the clerical team, and each one of the persons who contributed directly or indirectly to conduct this event. Lastly, I would like to thank our participants from all over India for joining this session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am, for delivering vote of thanks. Now we will move towards the technical section, which will be anchored by Ms. Manjusha K. Good afternoon, all. Now moving along with the next on the agenda, we will start with technical session. In this session, experts from various disciplines and era will enlighten the participants of the importance and the relevance of new national education policy. First, I would like to invite Sir Nimish Kapoor. Nimish Kapoor, Principal Scientist and Head Science Vigyan Prasad, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, to enlighten the audience with his view on new national education policy. So he is a science communicator, author, film curator, television programmer, and field builder. He is working in Vigyan Prasad, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, from last 17 years. At present, as Principal Scientist, he is heading the Science Films Division, Publication Division, and India Science Wire, Science News and Feature Service. He is a Google Certified Fact Verification Trainer and member of Google News Initiative India Training Network. is associated with the planning and execution of national and international science film festivals of India, flagship events of Vigyan Prasad, training programs, and series of workshops and appreciation courses on science communication, mass communication institutes, and film schools. Earlier to Vigyan Prasad, he was associated with various TV channels as television programmer and journalist. He is an expert member of committees in many organizations, including Public Health Film Society, Doordarshan, CMS Vatavaran, etc. Primarily, Mr. Minister is a scientist and not an educator. But with his skill and practical experience, he can educate and make aware the audience who are basically from educational institutions. With regard to how we can develop different rules and techniques to convert our traditional education into a skill-based education. Possibly with his experience, he can guide school teachers how the children can be groomed right from their childhood. So over to you, sir. Sir will be joining us with us within 2 minutes. Please wait. Our guest will be joining soon. All please be patiently, please wait. And if you have any doubt on your technical section, you can post your question in the chat box and we will answer it in the last question and answer round. Sir, Himesh sir, I am inviting you to speak few words about a national education policy.
Namaskar to all. Namaskar. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you, sir. Actually, I'm in remote location of this Badarwa, and some issue with internet. So
Yes,
sorry for that. And I'm
Not going
thankful.
to please carry on.
Yeah, I'm thankful to all the authorities and organizers. And today I'll speak on New Education Policy 2020 and interplay of education and technology. The National Education Policy 2020 is revolutionary in every sense, while the policy focuses on multiple aspects, including
Sir,
the
can
need
you-
of early. Pardon?
Sir, can you please turn on your camera, sir?
Actually,
हुआ तो वो तो कम करना पड़ेगा ना क्योंकि इतना ज्यादा नहीं बढ़ा है बट ये आपका आवाज आ रही है इसमें
actually, there is some internet issue when I turn on my camera. Internet may be slow.
It's okay. You please carry on, sir.
Okay, sir. Carry on.
Thank you. So I'll, yeah. So the National Education Policy 2020, I'll speak on as the interplay of education and technology. And it is revolutionary in every sense, while the policy focuses on multiple aspects, including the need of early childhood care, inclusive education, and revamping of the current curriculum. And inherent threat that runs through the policy is the interplay of education and technology. Over the last decades, India has transformed itself into an information intensive society, and there is a growing requirement to embrace the usage of technology in the field of education. In this regard, the policy notes that one of the central principles is steering the education system will be the extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers, increasing access, as well as education planning and management. In current pandemic situation, circumstances, while with virtual learning replacing in-person learning experiences, students and teachers have been compelled to reimagine conventional learning and teaching techniques. Introduction of the policy at such a critical juncture is significant as it details the vision of education for future generations and will be quintessential tool towards building a self-reliant India. I will discuss here a few aspects like the primary education. If we talk, then the policy recognizes the importance of technology in between teachers and students, creating digital libraries, popularizing language learning, as well as ensuring greater access to education, especially for differently abled children. It is also proposed that coding be introduced in school curriculums as an important skill that students must develop. The policy also notes that technology can be an effective tool in facilitating teacher education and encourage the utilization of technology platforms for online teacher training. Professional and higher education, if we discuss the need to embrace technology in professional education, it may be legal, health, management, information technology, and so on, as well as the incorporation of technology to expedite the aim of achieving 100% literacy by introducing quality technology-based options for adult learning has also been put forward. The policy recognizes the importance of technology in addressing various societal challenges and seeks to promote interdisciplinary research and innovation. For instance, higher education institutions have been encouraged to set up startup incubation centers and technology development centers, and a national research foundation is also proposed to set up to cultivate a culture of research. The policy envisages the establishment of the National Education Technology Forum, which shall operate as a platform for free exchange of ideas on the use of technology to enhance learning, assessment, planning, and administration of school and higher education. An interesting facet of the policy is its focus on utilizing technology to ensure efficiency and transparency of regulatory bodies such as the state school standard authorities, the Higher Education Commission of India, as well as its verticals like National Higher Education Regulatory Council, National Accreditation Council, Higher Education Grants Council, and the General Education Council. So the policy recognizes the challenges arising on account of the widespread use of artificial intelligence and highlights the need to adopt changes occurring on account of increased use of AI across sectors. The policy is pioneering, as it notes, the need to generate awareness as well as conduct research on various aspects of emerging disruptive technologies, including concerns pertaining to data handling and protection. The policy calls for investment in digital infrastructure, if we talk with reference to Digital India. Development of online teaching platforms and tools, creation of virtual labs and digital repositories, training teachers to become high-quality online content creators, designing and implementing of online assessments, establishing a standard for content, technology, and pedagogy for online teaching learning. The policy envisages the creation of a dedicated unit for the purpose of devising the development of digital infrastructure, digital content, and capacity building to supervise the e-education needs of both school and higher education. Although the policy has done a stellar job in imbibing technology in education in the Indian context, this also raises certain concerns which needs to be considered. The human element of education cannot be overlooked, and technology can be used only as an auxiliary tool to amplify the learning experience. It is also pertinent to access the way technology is used, processed, transferred, stored, and necessary safeguards be built in to protect the privacy of the users and protect against data thefts. While the policy is a novel and progressive document acknowledging the invaluable role of technology in facilitating learning and teaching, it is essential to develop a coherent plan of action for fostering technological proficiencies to aid a successful engagement with technology. In this regard, tech companies are uniquely positioned to assist with the execution of various goals envisioned under the policy. It is estimated that by 2022 or in coming years, K-12 EdTech market, kindergarten to +2 and higher education also. If we talk about K-12 EdTech market in India will be worth US dollars 1.7 billion, and post K-12 EdTech market, higher education market will be worth US dollar 1.8 billion. The EdTech companies can collaborate with educational institutions as well as develop customized online platforms, courses to increase reach among Indian students. Now our NCRT and other our knowledge platforms are in Government of India are doing a lot of digital channels and platforms, and they are competing our other stakeholder other solution providers like Bajus and all. The policy also presents a significant opportunity for cooperation between the various industry stakeholders and regulatory authorities, educational institutions. In this regard, the Internet and Mobile Association of India has recommended a partnership between the EdTech industry and the our other forums, which will help streamline research and enable the our higher education system to adopt industry-led best practices. Overall, the success of the policy will be contingent on the means and modes of its implementation, as well as the ability to effectively integrate the objectives of the policy within existing initiatives and engaging the relevant stakeholders in the effective delivery of the policy. The policy is mindful that education in the future will involve greater demand, and we can say digitalization of the content. For conservation educational system of India, this mindfulness is itself a remarkable feat. If we talk about holistic development of learners, the key overall thrust of curriculum and pedagogy reform across all stages will be to move the education system towards a real understanding and towards the learning how to learn, and away from the culture of routine learning as is largely present today. Ratification and all. The aim of education will not only be cognitive development, but also building character and creating holistic and well-rounded individuals equipped with the key 21st century skills. Ultimately, knowledge is a deep-seated treasure, and education helps in its manifestation as the perfection which is already within an individual. All aspects of curriculum and pedagogy will be reoriented and revamped to attain these critical goals. Specific sets of skills and values across domain will be identified for integration and incorporation at each stage of learning, from preschool to higher education. A curriculum framework and transaction mechanism will be developed for ensuring that these skills and values are imbibed through engaging processes of teaching and learning. NCERT will identify these required skill sets and include mechanism for their transaction in the national curriculum framework for early childhood and school education. I remember Professor Yashpal's contribution to reduce the weight of school bags, and Yashpal committee and various other our educationists and policy makers framed this national curriculum framework. I think some 10-15 years ago. So now it is time to revisit national curriculum framework also with reference to this national education policy. A reduced curriculum content to enhance essential learning and critical thinking is another important aspect. Curriculum content will be reduced in each subject to its core essential to make space for critical thinking and more holistic, inquiry-based, discovery-based, discussion-based, and analysis-based learning with full of life skills. The mandated content will focus on key concepts, ideas, applications, and problem solving. Teaching and learning will be conducted in a more interactive manner. Questions will be encouraged, and classroom session will regularly contain more, fun, creativity, collaboration, and exploratory activities for a student for deeper and more, experiential learning. If we talk about experiential learning, in all these stages, experiential learning will be adopted, including hands-on learning, arts integrated and sports integrated education, storytelling based pedagogy, जिसके बिहाफ पे हमारे ITIs काम कर रहे हैं, जो दिल और दिमाग का एजुकेशन जो बहुत पहले से इंडिया में चल रहा है, storytelling based pedagogy, amongst other standard pedagogy within each subject and with exploration of relation among different subjects. To close the gap in achievement of learning outcomes, classroom transactions will shift towards competency-based learning and education. The assessment tools, including as of and for learning, will also be aligned with the learning outcomes, capabilities, and dispositions as specified for each subject of a given class. So this is all about some few of my points, and core life skill, which is very, very important for every core life skill strategies and techniques are also part of NEP, like problem solving, as I earlier told, critical thinking, effective communication skills, decision making, informed decision making for better livelihood, creative thinking, interpersonal relationship skills, self-awareness building skills, empathy, and coping with stress and emotions. So, and what are the other, if we talk about 21st century skills, which will be, promoted in NEP, and it is more or less within the umbrella of these life skills, as creative thinking, creativity, I already told, and collaboration, communication, information literacy, media literacy is very much important, because we are, living in the era of infodemics. With this pandemic, we are facing fake news in our social media daily. We are struggling and dealing with a lot of rumors, mis or disinformation, fake news, information. So media literacy is, at most important, and technology literacy and flexibility, leadership, initiative, productivity, social skills. Technology is this mobile phone is a gadget of technology, and we must know that no one can call us from that our mobile phone will be acted like bomb, or so we no need to pick the call of 7 numbers or 8 numbers like that. So this kind of misinformation and miscommunication must be stopped, and we may combat with all these things. So these skills are intended to help students keep up with the lighting pace of the today's modern markets. Each skill is unique in how it helps the student, but they all have one quality in common. So we hope that the students will be benefited with the foundational principles of the this NEP 2020, which are access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. The policy believes that the education system should develop good human beings with rational thinking, compassion, empathy, courage, scientific temper, creative imagination, and ethical values. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your speech. Actually, it is a wonderful speech. You have talked about the importance of usage of technology in education, and with regard to the digital libraries, the importance of artificial intelligence, and the importance of interdisciplinary research education, and the creation of virtual labs, and importance of revisiting national curriculum framework. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your speech. Now the question and answer round. So the participants can put their questions in the chat box. Dr. Dhoni ma'am will be handling question and answer round. Over to you, ma'am.
Am I audible? Is
Yes,
my
ma'am.
voice audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Natisha, for giving an insight on the education policy. But our participants have certain questions for you, sir. So the very first question I'm putting across to you, sir, it talks about that how can a new education policy is having an effect on research in India. So what all research facilities or what all research benefits are available in our national education policy, sir?
Actually, this new education policy is promoting collaborative research. Actually, unfortunately, in India, we do our research in silos. What we are doing, our next room doesn't know what we are doing. So we need more collaboration, cooperation, partnership, and broad vision for our research, because we need that kind of problems in our research, which may search some, sustainable solution for our mankind, for our country, for our society. So this kind of research aspect is being promoted under this NEP 2020 because it says access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. So we talk about quality research. So we need, more to before the setting of our research questions and problems, we need some basic research and reviews for that. And some collaboration and this kind of partnership must be.
Sir, I mean to say, like, probably through NEP, we are going towards some robust research ecosystem. Some robust research ecosystem can be developed with the kind of...
The main highlight of this NEP is setting up of multidisciplinary education and research universities.
Right, sir.
Suppose you are a science postgraduate and you want to do research in mass communication. You want to do research for science communication, reaching science to the masses, because a lot of science is going on in our labs. And what is the impact you want to check to the public through our various TV channels, through our media? So this kind of multidisciplinary approach of education and research will help our potential researcher to choose that kind of themes or topics. And, setting up of National Research Foundation is another, thing can be another feather of this NEP.
Okay, so there's a lot of questions coming across from our participants. So there's another question which has been raised by Mr. Joseph Sam. So he is putting up a question across to you, sir, that do you think that inclusive education will be a reality in near future?
Little voice break. Can you?
Okay, I repeat. Yes, it says this question has come up from Mr. Joseph Sam. He is asking a question to you, sir, that do you think that inclusive education will be a reality in near future? I hope. Inclusive, sir, do you think inclusive education is a reality in near future?
Sir, excuse me. Sir, you just started, when you started the talk, you talked about inclusive education. And this is there in NEP, but nothing has been started so far. Do you think that will it be possible in India to have inclusive education, or things will continue as has been going on now?
Actually, sir, if you see that our NCRT is being started more than 250 digital TV channels, classroom-wise, subject-wise. And if you see some historical perspective, some EduSet, and before Professor Ishpal's time, some 80s decade. So a lot of efforts are going on. So we have rich success stories and also failure stories also. So this NEP has been envisioned with the experienced policymakers and all our government efforts to synergize and to digitize India, our rural population through laptops, tablets, and classroom with TV screen and laptop. So it is a big question what you have asked, and it may take time. It may take time definitely, because India is a big country, and we have to reach the remotest part of the country with all the gadgets and technology. So it may take time, no doubt. But कहते हैं कि एक कदम बढ़ गया है, और एक कदम जब बढ़ जाता है तो वो आगे ही आगे चलेगा. बहुत कुछ चेंज होने वाला है सर. तो इसका बहुत अंदर जाके मैं इसका जवाब नहीं दे सकता, because I am not the educational
So there's another question. Nimish sir, we have another question, because I am taking the last question from our participants. The rest of you can put up on the chat box right here. So the last question is for you, sir, that since in your session you had taken up on information dissemination through social media. So how do you think that wrong information dissemination through social media can be handled, and how is it related with the national education policy?
Actually, what the core skills inbuilt in this NEP, like problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, and effective communication, decision making. So this kind of, as I talked about, the media literacy and technology literacy, right? And it is required, and it is essential for layman citizens of the country. So if you a little awareness and, you may be able to differentiate the rumor or fake news and mis and disinformation about the actual information. So a lot of things happened in the last 2 years, this pandemic. A lot of misinformation about the Kadha of Ayush Ministry can combat COVID, and one research scholar Ramo in Pondicherry University made some Kadha and adopted by WHO. A lot of nonsense and rumors were spread. So we need more attention to through our this NEP in our system, because now this freedom is there for our students that they can opt one special subject or special paper. Suppose they are studying in chemistry or commerce or physics or something, so they can also adopt some management paper or some mass communication paper. So all these fake news things are being taught in our mass communication syllabus. And I am a part of this global mission, Google News Initiative, India Training Network. I am a trainer also, and from last 2.5 years, I am active in this fake news, this Google News Initiative and media literacy missions. So I would love to speak on this also in some, next sessions.
Sir, we'll definitely get connected with you, but with the paucity of time, sir, because there are 3 speakers who are waiting for their session to start. And I'll also ask the participants to keep on putting up your questions across the chat box, and seeing the time limitations, we may definitely deal up with all the queries that you have been raising across. So anyways, thank you so much, sir, for your...
I also suggest all the students and our stakeholders to read the NAP policy documents carefully. It is a hardly 36-40 pages document available on the Google internet. So if they read this new education policy carefully, they will get all the answers of their queries and questions.
Right, sir. Definitely.
Best wishes for all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So over to you, Manjusha.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for answering all these questions and answers for our participants. So now we are going to the second speaker. So next, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Arvind Kumar. Professor Dr. Arvind Kumar is Dean at Adal Bihari Vajpayee School of Management and Entrepreneurship, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He has more than 20 years of experience of academics and industry. He is a certified entrepreneur educator from Stanford University, USA. He earned his post-graduation and PhD in management. He is the recipient of postdoctoral fellowship in USA. He has supervised several MPhil PhD students. He is a keen researcher, and his current research interests are CSR, academia, industry, interface, consumer affairs, and social entrepreneurship. He has several research papers published in national and international journals of physics. He has several books, monographs, and research projects in his study. He has participated as an expert in national, international conference, seminars, and workshops, and has been part of various panel discussions and also chaired many sessions. Our institution is fortunate to get an expert like him who can authoritatively talk about the education system and changes we have to incorporate in our present education system. So kindly share your views, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope I am audible, Manjusha ji. Thank you so much. I hope I think it's echoing. So can somebody check why voice is echoing? Can you hear me now?
No, sir, it's not echoing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Manjusha ji, for your kind words. First of all, let me just congratulate IPEM for organizing e-seminar on a very contemporary issue on a new national education policy, transforming vision into action. So when I was hearing the welcome address, director's address, Dr. R.K. Singhal, so he was just requesting to all the speakers to talk about the implementation part, action part. So Honorable Director, Dr. R.K. Singhal, Dean Outreach Program, IPEM, Dr. Dolly Phillips, Chief Guest of this e-seminar, Mr. Sangwan ji, and Dr. Neelam ji, who is head of the department, law department. We just heard Mr. Nimis Kapoor ji, who is principal scientist and head Vigyan Prasar DST, and my fellow expert, Dr. Manoj Kumar Sinha ji, and Professor Muhammad Sahir Siddiqui ji. So my heartiest congratulations to the institution for organizing e-seminar on a very contemporary issues. And as I was mentioning that I was just hearing address by the director, Professor Singhal. So he was talking about the action part. So how the institution can really implement NEP. I was hearing all eminent speakers for the day, and all of them has given great insights, and they also talk about the pros and cons of NEP 2020. But let me place in record for the institution. So your institution is full of intellects. Why I'm saying so? Because there is some people say NEP is new education policy. Some people say this national education policy. Though one of the objective of NEP is definitely creating nationalist people. So somewhere the idea of inculcating Indianness is also one of the important objective of NEP 2020. So in the background, a lot of things has been said so far. NEP 2020 is concerned. Let me begin with few information with the house. So first information is when you really look at the committee, which has been headed by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangarajan ji. So in that committee, one of my colleague, Professor Mazhar Asif, is also one of the member. Professor Mazhar Asif, he is a professor and dean. He is a professor in Center of Persian and Cultural Asian Studies of JNU, and he is currently dean of School of Language, Literature, and Cultural Studies. Second thing, again, I would like to quote that the current chairman of University Grants Commission, Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, was also from JNU before his new assignment to UGC. He has served as a vice chancellor, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. So far, NEP 2020 is concerned. So I feel very privileged in the sense because two major people in NEP 2020 who contributed. So they are from JNU. They have a very strong roots from the JNU. Coming back to the topic, so I really appreciate the organizing committee who thought of a very contemporary topic which says new national education policy transforming vision into action. So very important thing. I think when we really talk about the functional part, so in the theme, functional part has very carefully designed, because NEP 2020, the decade that a lot of speaker was talking about, so that was in public domain. Anybody who wants to see the document of NEP 2020, so it's punch away. Simply on Google, you type NEP 2020, you will find the entire docket of NEP 2020. So a lot of things have been said so far. NEP 2020 is concerned. But I completely agree with the point that Professor Singhal was talking about. A lot of webinar, a lot of seminar, workshops, symposium has been conducted on NEP 2020. Now, a lot of universities are also geared up for how to implement at university level. So a lot of committees are formulated. So they are also formulating, they are also trying to implement NEP 2020. Because I come from a management background, so there are a few concerns that I want to share about NEP 2020, especially in the lenses from action point of view. So when you look at the conceptual part, so a lot of things have been said by the chief guest and my fellow expert speaker about education. One thought that I want to really share with all of us is about the education, what Aristotle has said about the education. So Aristotle once said about the education is nothing, is creation of a sound mind in a sound body. Even when you really look at Indian thinkers, so Indian thinkers not confined to talk about sound mind, sound body, but they also talk about mind, body, and heart. So I hope I'm audible. Manjusha, can you check? I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Then coming back, so there are basic conceptual framework about the education, and I can also see that there may be people, especially from education as a subdomain, those who are into the B.Ed teaching or M.Ed teaching or other curriculum of education teaching. So I will not go to in detail about talking about education, but one of the most important focus of NEP is like having sound body, mind, and heart. So aligning with sound body and heart. Then coming back to other important part of NEP 2020, I think one of the important objective of NEP 2020 is holistic development of learner. So anybody who come to the education system, be it primary education, secondary education, or higher education, so we must, as a part of academic fraternity, one of our important objective is to have a holistic development of the learner. Now we have to really sit together. We have to apply our mind how the holistic development can be done. So this is the real challenge. So there are a few ideas. So when you look at the earlier policies, especially in India, so we were confined to the various disciplines like arts, commerce, social sciences, management, or other sciences like life sciences. Now NEP 2020 will give you a chance. So you can just like you can have major in one subject, minor in another subject. And there is also important provision called academic bank credit, ABC. The idea of ABC is, so earlier days, if somebody was thinking like commerce can be studied along with chemistry, so it cannot be possible. But NEP 2020 will give you the edge. Like you can study one subject from the sciences, another subject from the social sciences. You whatever the interest lies, so it can be done. So this is one idea that we can really think of in terms of holistic and multidisciplinary education. I was very carefully listening to Nimesh Kapoorji, and he was also talking about collaborative research. So at research level, definitely we must have a collaborative research. And I'm very happy to share one news with all of you that a few of our colleagues have developed sugar candies that could treat malaria in children. So that research is again done by the JNU researcher. And now School of Management and entrepreneurship can definitely like work together, and we can work on commercialization. We can also work on marketing part of it, commercial side of the product. So this is one idea of having a multidisciplinary research. So when you really talk about the research domain, so now is the time for interdisciplinary research, multidisciplinary research, intradisciplinary research, and transdisciplinary research. So earlier one domain was confined. So now the time has really come. We have to really work in all kinds of collaborative research. The second important feature of NEP 2020 that I look at, which is multiple entry and multiple exit. So somebody having some constraints, somebody has to join the industry, someone has to look for some industry exposure, somebody has to start the career. So whenever they feel like so multiple exit and multiple entry points are given, in NEP 2020. So this is one part, and I have already talked about the flexibility part, which is academic bank credit. So in case if you want to earn a degree from, say, like one credit that you want to earn from one of the University of Northeast, so you can go to the Northeast and you can earn one credit. And I was also listening to previous speaker, they were also talking about now the time has come why our students are going abroad. Foreign universities can also come to India, and these universities can also start their campus. Our students can also study with their campus. And it's vice versa as well. Like Indian university can also start their campus. So even in case if I have to talk about the South Asia, so one university may start the campus in one of the country of South Asia, and they can cater the need of students of South Asia. They can also start campus in US or UK and whatever the geographical region is. Third important thing that I really look at from NEP 2020 is, so when you look at our demography, when you look at our country, so we have we are really rich in terms of having intellectual human resources. But at times industry people says that our human resources is not employable. So my suggestion is like policymaker definitely an institution can definitely think of making our students employable, our young fellows employable. So you look at the initiative from Ministry of Skill, you can look at some of the initiative from NEP 2020. So we can cater human resources, employable human resources to the rest of the world. So this is one idea, and that will also contribute to the economy of our country. Internationalization of education that I already talked about. Internationalization of education. So we can start our own campus in the foreign countries. Foreign university can also come to our country. So definitely that will also give you the chance to have an internationalization of education. Another important feature, because I come from management discipline, so a lot of disciplines are not really giving you a chance to learn and earn. So NEP 2020, and when it comes to the execution part, implementation part, so institution can really think of learn and earn component. So how this can be done, I'm not saying that complete focus could be on the earning. Somewhere there could be learn and earn. I've been to US for my postdoctoral. I observed a lot of people, a lot of students were really working working for the libraries, and they were paid. So in weekend, anybody who wants to earn and learn, so they can be deployed to the libraries or other functions, maybe once in a week or during the weekend. So this may be the execution part that we may look at. And another important point that I want to share with all of you is industry academia interface. So be it engineering side or technical education, be it management education. So the simple point, even for the social sciences, so there must be interface with the possible employer. So what will happen? So there may be somewhere we can also bridge the gap. For example, for discipline of management, at times industry says, look at your syllabi. So your syllabi is not updated. So the idea is you can just keep on inviting industry folks, people who work from industrial organizations like CII, big CII or IMA or FICCI or other organization. So they will also contributing in syllabi designing, review, and updating. I'm very glad to learn that IPEM also have outreach program. So and I was privileged to hear welcome others from the Dean outreach program. So I think this is also actionable path school or educational institutions would think of having social outreach program. End of the day, be it a research of core sciences, social sciences, or disciplinary research. So the idea is ultimately betterment of the society. So until unless we don't have social outreach program, I think the idea of having NEP 2020 would be defeated. So a lot of focus could be on social outreach program. And one appeal that I want to make whenever you want to make certain changes or you want to contribute to the changes, policy changes. So what happens? There is a all stakeholder discussion. Suggestions are invited by various agencies, be it Ministry of Education, be it other department of ministry. So what we do, we don't really actively participate in policy making. So my humble request to all participants here, so whenever there is a request in newspaper or in portal, so wherever or in any platform that you want to contribute your suggestions, so please do contribute for policy change. Because we are all academicians, so one important point that I want to make here is pedagogy. So in several disciplines, like pedagogy is irrelevant. So we have to really come up with a pedagogy that learners would be very much engaged, very much connected. So in case if you follow either Bollywood serials or Hollywood serials, so what happens? You are connected. If you miss one episode, so you think that, oh, what is going to happen? So that kind of curiosity is there. So simple point that out of this action plan that I want to urge all fellow academicians here, so you have to come up with a very, very interesting pedagogy. So learner can really look at, they feel very connected, they feel very engaged, and they feel also very, very interested. So we can definitely collectively think of interesting pedagogy. And one important thing when we really look at the future plan for NEP 2020, now currently if you look at the QS World ranking or global ranking, where we placed even from 100 to 500 bracket. So we have to really come up in a way that at least we fall in 100 to 200 category of QS World ranking. So this may be another challenge, another acceptable plan for the Indian university or for the academia. And I can see the coordinator of program is reflecting that my time is up. So I'm just concluding in a minute, and I will conclude when we really look at the education. So I would like to quote Nelson Mandela here. And Nelson Mandela said, education is most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. When you're really looking at changing the world, then I think we should follow what Nelson Mandela has said in one point in time. And lastly, I would close my thought by saying one of Hindi poetry, which says like this: सफर में मुश्किलें आए तो हिम्मत और बढ़ती है. So this is also a journey for education implementation of NEP 2020. सफर में मुश्किलें आए तो हिम्मत और बढ़ती हैं, अगर कोई रास्ता रोके तो जरूरत और बढ़ती है, अगर बिकने पे आओ तो गिर जाते हैं दाम, अगर बिकने पे आओ तो गिर जाते हैं दाम, अगर ना बिकने का इरादा हो तो कीमतें और बढ़ती हैं. So thank you very much for inviting me, and once again I congratulate IPEM for organizing such a wonderful e-seminar, and I also thank all participants for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your excellent speech. Through your speech, you played light on the importance of holistic development of the learner and the importance on how it can be achieved, and the importance of collaborative or multidisciplinary research, and also with regard to the establishment of foreign university campus in India and vice versa. And also give the importance that or trust or how much focus we have to give on outreach program. Thank you, sir, once again. And for a while, I request all the participants to switch on your video for a photo session for a while. Thank you everyone. So now it is question answer session. So it is over to.
Yes, thank you, Manjusha. Again, I'm audible?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Arvind, sir, there is a question for you from one of our participants. That participant really need to understand, is it necessary to learn in Hindi or Sanskrit language according to national education policy?
Okay, thank you, Anubaji, for sharing the question. And I should also thank the person who is asking this question. So when you really look at NEP 2020, so it does not believe in imposing any thought, but nothing wrong in case if you have learning in your own language. So for example, if you look at Northern India, so Northern India, Hindi is a mother tongue. And when you look at the beauty of Sanskrit, so are all knowledge centers, they have literature available in Sanskrit. So nothing wrong in case if you have if you are having knowledge from our epics, from Vedas, from Upanishads, but on the other hand, there is also flexibility. Nothing is imposed in NEP 2020. So in case if you learn even from the English, if you learn from your own language, I personally feel a lot of people are not able to express just because of inability to speak in English. So idea of NEP 2020 is not imposing any language, but promoting every language, including Hindi and Sanskrit. I hope I answered your question.
Oh, thank you, sir. I hope the participant must have understood that it will be more of a multilingual lingual kind of a option given to the students. One more question, sir. It is for you. It's a question which has come.
Dolly ma'am, can I answer? Can I also add something to it?
Yes, sure, sir. Sure, definitely.
Madam, I think I'd like to add one more thing what Mr. Sir Anindji said. See, new education policy NEP 2020, see, they also emphasized in 8 more regional languages, including Sanskrit. And they emphasize that education, whether it's a technical education or otherwise, they should be taught in 8 regional languages also.
I completely agree with your points, sir. And because keeping in the interest of time, so I was not going into that detail. And I can also
that includes Sanskrit.
Yes, so that means the policy is open that we can easily understand in the various languages that could be offered under the policy. So I would just take up the last question from you, sir, Dr. Arvind. This is from Rainy Matthew. She's asking a question that since recently we are seeing there is a migration of students for higher educations from India to abroad. So will our national education policy help to continue education in India?
That's a great question. So I didn't cover the gross enrollment ratio. So even for the target, when you really look at the vision dockets for NEP 2020, so the GER that we are looking till 2035, 50% gross enrollment ratio. So this is one statistics. I was just expressing my views. So NEP will also give you a chance to open campuses in India. So definitely when you look at the migration, a lot of our students are going for higher studies in US, UK, Australia, or any other part of globe. So somewhere it will also give a mutual, like a lot of scholars will also come, a lot of students will also come to India. So it may be a reverse migration. So there is a lot of possibility when you really look at the mobility of our students. So I have a very strong belief that India will definitely attract a lot of scholars from a lot of students from across the country. So I think it would be regaining of our history. When you look at, in one point in time, India used to attract a lot of scholars. So you can just think about the Chinese scholars like Faiyan, who used to come India. He spent 16 years. So glory will regain for the country. And by these policies, especially if you are following the EBC regulation and NEP 2020, a lot of scope is there for mutual benefits. So you may see a lot of students coming to India, and definitely once the foreign universities are coming to country, so our student will be preferring to study here only.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you, sir.
Right. Thank you.
With the opening of the international institutions or more of collaborations and alliances, hopefully our students will not move or they'll migrate to the other countries, sir. So thank you so much for your valuable time, sir. I think I'm over to Manjusha for inviting our next speaker for the day, sir. Manjusha.
Thank you. Thank you, Anubhav.
Thank you, Arvindji. Thank you, Arvindji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for answering all the questions put forward by our participants. So moving to the next speaker. Next, I am honored to invite Professor Dr. Avinash Dadi, Professor of Law at Institute of Legal Studies and Research.
Okay, thank you very
Dr.
much.
Avinash Dadi is a Dean and Professor of Law at Institute of Legal Studies and Research, GLA University, Mathura. His area of specialization are global competition law, global anti-corruption law, and law and regulation of artificial intelligence and robotics. He has completed his PhD from Bangalore University, Wales, United Kingdom, and LLM from University of Toulouse, France, on full scholarship, and on LLB from Delhi University. Prior to taking the current position, he has worked as a professor and dean at IPEM Law College, Bangalore, and professor and law and assistant dean of Alliance Law School, Alliance University, Bangalore, and professor and HOD at Seedling School of Law and Governance, Jaipur National University, Jaipur. He was also an advocate in Supreme Court of India, manager Deloitte India, senior consultant in EY. He was also a member of Competition Commission of India, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. He has also been a visiting research scholar to various international universities of repute, such as King's College of London, Max Planck Institute of IP, Competition Law, Munich, Germany, and Institute of European Studies, Brussels, Belgium. Professor Dadi has extended and presented research papers at international conferences at several foreign universities. He has published 10 articles and book reviews in Indian and international journals. So we are sure that your eminent knowledge in education and other fields will definitely guide us on the new education policy to be adopted. Kindly enlighten us with your views. Sir, over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Because it's quite long seminar, so I will keep it very short. First of all, I would like to say thanks to the organizer of this e-seminar to invite me and have this seminar with very esteemed speakers from different backgrounds. One scientist, one professor of management, then one law professor, then one lawyer. So I think this is the need of the hour that we discuss about our new education policy. Obviously, we are saying all good things about new education policy, and I have no different views that this policy is good. But if I compare the Indian experiences with implementation of policies in India, then we really lack institutional framework. Okay, so this new education policy, on paper, it looks really great, though quite confusing. There are so many gaps right now, but I believe that over the period of time, these gaps will be filled. So there are a few issues which I want to talk about this Indian policy, because I'm the member of my university to implement this new education policy, and because I can tell you the experiences which I just wait a minute. Okay, so what I was saying, that I'm facing the real challenges. The first challenge which
is before the Indian educational institutions, especially the higher education institution, is the mindset. Because new education policy is treating India as a single entity. The idea is that can we create a single Indian market, the market for higher education. That's why we have created very flexible and open and competitive environment in higher education system. But the people who are trying to implement these policies in public as well as private universities, still they need to understand that this education policy is talking about after 10 years, that how Indian market will look after 10 years, 15 years. So understanding the need of the market and changing their traditional mindset would be a big challenge. That's a psychological challenge, but I believe that over the period again, we will try to find some solution. Two big legal education sector, like the legal and medical education, they are being exempted by NLP. I really can't see any reason that, because I'm a professor of law and the legal education, medical education, if you see the interface of these education with other multidisciplinary areas like the management, technology, social sciences, then I really can't understand that why these two big, the regulators, BCI and MCI, were able to succeed for this regulatory capture. That why we cannot bring innovation in these two sectors. So the benefits of NLP will not go directly into these two sectors. So that's one area of concern for the policymaker, that whenever they bring some changes in this policy, I think they should try to include legal and medical education sector also, because these two sectors are really creating a lot of impact in day-to-day people's life. Like when I say the justice at door or the justice in society, quality of medical or the health services at the grassroots level. So we need different types of lawyers, judges, we need different types of doctors who understands technology, social science, So I think, and as well as the business aspect. So this is the one area which I believe it's a little bit problematic. And the second, my other speakers talked about the international education. So the new UGC rule says that now they will allow top 1000 QS universities to set up their campuses in India. See, the opening the Indian market for foreign universities, I think it's very good idea, first of all. But at the same time, we really need to bring a lot of changes in rules and regulation, because this idea is keep coming to before the Indian regulators and policy makers since more than 10 years. But in last 10 years, what happened at the global level, you can see the Middle East, especially Dubai or the Hong Kong or Singapore or China, they were developed very good local institutions, national institutions, as well as they were able to bring a lot of international universities in those countries. So early more advantage is not there, but still the India is a big market. And now because of the post-corona situation, I don't think that international people will be more interested in China. So India is a good opportunity, but government is still not very clear about that how we are going to invite these institutions, what would be the rules and regulations, whether we will allow to make profit or not, because see, as per the law, private institutions are not supposed to make any profit. But everybody knows that all private institutions are, just to make, making profit, giving education, all good things. But profit is one of the main aspect. At least in Indian market, it's an open secret. Everybody knows it. Okay. So why why we are behaving in a hypocritical manner when the Indian institutions are making a lot of money, a lot of profits by using loopholes in our Indian legal system, and we are not allowing international good institutions to come to India and give good quality of education. Okay, it brings competition in the market. The argument, opposite argument against this idea is that they will be very expensive, The common man will not be able to get education in those institutions. But I think that's not the valid argument, because we can see a lot of new generation private universities are charging 7 to 10 lakhs rupees per year. Okay. So I can see that India is a very big market and there is a need for different types of institutions. So there is a institutions maybe for rich people, for middle class people, lower middle class people, for the poor people. And at the same time, we can introduce our reservation policies, we can introduce our scholarship policies in these big private universities as well as these foreign universities. So social justice can take place by our existing rules and regulation, but we need to allow them to make profit. Okay, it's bringing more transparency and honesty and integrity in market. Okay, so that's a one part. And the third and the very important part is the credit transfer, because the entire one of the most important aspect of NLP, it will be flexible entry and exit system, that like you can do your first year here and then you can get a certificate, you can exit from the university, you go and do something else, you come back, then after 1 year you get your diploma, then degree. So it's a very flexible system. However, because the education, especially the higher education and school education, education is the part of the state list in our Indian constitution. So all state governments are trying to implement NLP in their own ways. So I don't see any coordination at the national level right now, and state governments are trying to implement NLP in their own ways, so this is a little bit problematic, that how this, obviously we have a credit bank now and students can register there, institutions can register there, but at the same time state governments are also creating that type of credit bank system.
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
Just please
Sir,
call him,
still
call him.
Hello, Manjusha, are we through with the session?
No, ma'am. No, actually, some connection.
He joined back, he joined back.
Yeah, sorry, it's an internet issue. Yeah. So credit transfer system, we need to get more clarity because most of the universities, at least on paper, they have implemented NLP in their institutions, and it will be a big challenge for the students to understand how this credit transfer system is going to take place. Especially exit would be fine, but when you go and enter into another institution, what would be the terms and conditions from state private universities to state central universities? So because in India we have different type of systems: state universities, deemed universities, central universities, IITs, IIMs, and specialized institutions like NLUs, or so we have a very complex ecosystem in our Indian market. So until and unless we get clarity, it would be quite problematic. It will be quite problematic for students and academicians to understand that how they are going to implement. And one of the aspects that's very important is the regional language. I do understand the politics of higher education. This is not a very new thing, but still I have on my views, that NLP is not very clear about the engineering education, how the BTech is going to take place, because BTech is already a 4-year program. Okay, it's a UG program, but it's already a 4-year program. For example, agriculture, a BSc agriculture is a 4-year program. So in these two areas, especially engineering, because that's a huge, like number of students in engineering program in BTech education, engineering education, I believe more than, I think, 20 25 lakh students are enrolled in BTech program, and NLP is not very clear about it, that how NLP is going to implement in the engineering education, because their UG is already 4 years program. So I think that's another loop area. I don't know why nobody is talking about this thing, but engineering is a very problematic, and I don't know how they are going to solve this problem. And the final point about the regional languages. I love my language. I'm from Rajasthan. I speak Marwadi, and you all love your regional languages. That's fine. But see, some ideas looks good. Like, we should have engineering or medical education in regional languages like Hindi or Tamil or, in any other language. It looks good. But the idea is that, do we have really good material in those languages? That's a one idea. Second, we don't have any good translation ecosystem in our country, because so far we never required it. If you see the European Union ecosystem, they have 28 countries, and obviously almost 26 languages they are using in their day-to-day life, but they have recognized 4 languages. But they translate all the European Union documents, policies, everything in all languages. So until and unless we create a good ecosystem of translators, the quality translation is a big issue in our country. Because our one of the professors is sitting in JNU, and JNU is a hub of good translators and linguistic people. But I don't see many good universities in our country, like maybe JNU, then DU, and then maybe there is a one in Hyderabad. So there are maybe few institutions, but I don't see any good institution, translating from Tamil to English or Gujarati to English. That system doesn't exist in our country. You can find translators from foreign language to English or Hindi. Hindi is difficult, but regional languages translation, I don't see any ecosystem in our universities right now. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't see any course where we are teaching our students how to translate from Hindi to Tamil or Malayalam to Gujarati. So these type of courses are not there at all in our education system. So these regional languages can be a very challenging idea, and especially from the recruitment point of view, I don't see how IT companies will recruit anyone who is coming from, suppose, Malayalam BTech. Okay, it looks a great idea, but until and unless you are not comfortable in a foreign language like the English, because all these IT companies are serving international clients in Europe, US, or any country, South America. So they are using a common language, that's the English. I'm not against any regional languages, but what I'm trying to say that until and unless we create an ecosystem of regional languages, good translators, good ecosystem of educational institutions and translation, introducing this type of regional program, I think that can be problematic. Today, I thought that I should try to do a critical analysis, of this NLP. I really like this policy. It talks very good about holistic education, multidisciplinary approach. But frankly speaking, before NLP, nobody stopped Indian universities to do all these things. Okay, and this is a policy only. It's not a law. Okay, so I don't see any legal sanction against this policy. And the states will be free to introduce and implement this NLP in their own way. And my only concern that the spirit of NLP should not lose in this operational implementation process. And there has to be one central organization who can ensure that all member states are implementing NLP in the same manner. Because if someone is moving from Tamil Nadu to Gujarat or from Lakshadweep to Gangtok, then the education system has to be the same. Otherwise, entry and exit, that is a very important part of NLP, will face a lot of issues. So with these words, I will stop here, and if you have any question, I will be very happy to answer.
So there is one question that we have from one of our participants. It's by the name of, just checking, sir. 1 minute. Sir. This is Bhima Raju. So he's put across one question that industries are focusing on skills, but they are not finding a right person. So why a student after their 10th standard, they are mastering only in one subject and instead of offering into multiple subjects? So that's what his question is. Like, industry is offering skills, but they are unable to find a right person for those skills. But then why after 10th, it's only they have to specialize only in one subject area and not in multiple subjects?
See, the point is that one of the main objective of NLP that you can learn 60% your core areas, like if you are suppose learning management, but remaining 40% you can learn anything. Okay, so the skill gap is a serious issue, and it's not before NLP or after NLP. I don't see any reason that why NLP will be able to solve this problem, because the solution lies somewhere else. My understanding of higher education in India and abroad, that after 20 years, please mark my word, maybe I am wrong, but after 20 years, you won't find any traditional classical universities. The ed tech will change the entire market. For example, I give you one thing. BTech online is absolutely illegal, is not authorized by any regulatory body. You cannot do online BTech. Okay, but to solve this problem, the skill gap, one big IT company, I won't name, you will find on the Google, they have executed one MOU with very prestigious university in India, and that university is offering BTech online. So the idea is that now the student will never go to university to be an engineer. He will do internship in that IT company, and eventually he will get some stipend and he will complete his BTech. So the idea is that somehow the concept of university is changing. The knowledge is everywhere, and now the people will move beyond the boundaries of the universities. Just imagine if tomorrow Infosys or SCL or all big Indian IT companies, if they say that we don't need any BTech in computer science, any person who can qualify our entrance exam, we are ready to give a job. We don't mind if you are 10th pass, 12th pass. If you can do coding, we will take you, and then we will train you. What will happen with all engineering schools in this country? Same thing can happen with management education. So the idea is that until and unless we change our universities with the requirement of the market, the concept of university itself is in danger.
Sir, I hope the participant was all the more specific, like post 10th class. So it's basically the boards, the school teaching boards need to give an option.
After 10th, you have to select one area. The idea is that whether you want to go in engineering or management or law or something like that. Okay, after 10th, you can choose, but after 12th, you can change it also. So as per the requirement of the particular domain, we have given this flexibility. So, and one thing, I'm not expert in school education, so I plead my ignorance in school education.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Over to Manjusha, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your speech, especially in highlighting the challenges we have to face in implementing the national education policy. Also pointing out the loopholes in engineering education, then implementing the regional language education like no materials, no translation machinery, etc. So it is now we have understood that good ecosystem of good education and translation is the need of the hour. Thank you, sir, for your.
Manjusha, there is one one question which has come up for Dr. Arvind here. Avinash, sorry, Dr. Avinash. This is Samrat from Law School, IIT Kharagpur. So, sir, are you connected with us, still online with us, sir? Dr. Avinash?
Yes, I am.
Yes. So there's just one question which just popped up now. So it says, like, do you think that vocational training on technical and machine learning and cross-disciplinary learning could be successful in India? If it is, then is there any success story from the international education perspective? And does cross-fertilization of the subject learning help in employability in international markets, sir? So that is a
Yes,
good
yes,
long question
absolutely.
from Samrat
Yeah.
from IIT Kharagpur.
Yeah. So IIT Kharagpur, they have a law school also. They are specializing in intellectual property. So Samrat, I think I will give you one example of law school only. So in Indian law schools, we really don't teach our students about technology. Like we really don't tell them how to do coding, how to do cyber security. So there are few law schools in UK. They have started the integration of law and technology. So if you want to become a lawyer, you need to learn and understand technology also. So this cross integration of law and technology is bringing a different generation of lawyers. So you can find these type of examples in all types of streams, and this is a very welcome suggestion that why we are restricting ourselves, that the doctors cannot learn law, doctors cannot learn technology, doctors can't learn philosophy, so this is very important for the employability point of view, because in the next, even now, the employers are looking for different type of employees, who can think beyond their core areas. So if you are suppose a computer science graduates, Stanford research says that you need to learn philosophy. Okay, because there are a lot of ethical issues while you are creating your algorithms in artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of ethical and philosophical challenges before the coders. So until and unless they understand these ethics and philosophy, they won't be able to create good artificial intelligence. So this is a new types of education where all knowledge is merged. And I think it's not new. If you go back in history before 700 years back, all philosophers, knowledgeable people, they used to know philosophy, literature, mathematics, science, law. Like a person with knowledge must know everything, okay, so that he can give a right answer. But because of this Americanization of education in last 100 years, we have created employees, that law, medical, engineering, this, and apart from that, nothing. So the time is changing again, and we are going back to history where a person should know almost everything on the earth and try to integrate all the knowledge to find the right answers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much, sir, for your deliberations and helping out our participants for their queries. So we are thankful to you for joining us in this session, sir. So over to you, Manjusha.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for clearing all the doubts of our participants and joining this session. So next, I'm honored to invite Dr. Mohammed Shakir Siddiq. Dr. Mohammed Shakir Siddiq is an associate professor in Aligarh Muslim University. Before joining the Department of Education at AMU, he has served two other central universities, first as associate professor of education at Tezpur University, Assam, and second as assistant professor at Vishwabharati Shantiniketan, a central university in West Bengal founded by Rabindranath Tagore. He has also served as a school teacher in public education system where he taught English, literature, social studies in both CBSE and UP curriculum boards. For the last 15 years, his main areas of teaching and research interest include philosophy of education, gender issues in education, sexism, and education for sustainable development. He has particular passion for Sufism and Indian spiritual traditions with their education relevance. He wrote his PhD thesis on the topic, a critical study of Sufism with reference to educational aspects. He has edited 3 books and published 2 monographs. More than 30 research papers, articles, and books, chapters on different themes related to Sufism, teacher education, women education, and educational philosophy, etc., are credited to his publication journey. He has presented papers and delivered lectures as resource person in more than 32 national and international conferences in various institutes of learning. It is obviously an honor to listen to the words of a person who is an expert in the field of education, who has researched and published various articles relating to education. We are eagerly waiting for your words, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manjusha, for this long and elaborated introduction. Actually, I don't deserve for that. And it's my privilege as well as my honor to share this esteemed stage to share my views on NEP 2020. I would like to pay my heartiest thanks to Dr. R.K. Singhal, the director of IPEM, and other dignitaries. Very good evening, all the hosts as well as all the guests. From the core of my heart, my best wishes and best regards. So can I share my PPT, please? How can I share? Yeah, yes, it's open now. I'm just sharing it. Which is not visible.
Sir, you can carry on, sir. Visible.
PPTs are visible?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, okay. That's not visible to me actually. So, so the very title of today's talk is, I will be very brief. Actually, I have just 20 minutes to speak, and actually national education policy, so far as we have been discussing and we have been listening the views of different resource persons and experts on their area. All the aspects of the technical aspects, the structural aspects, and most important, the economic and the social aspects of national education policy was being discussed. So I would like to throw some light on two more important aspects since I belong to the field of education. So in the area of education, I would like to draw something. And another important thing is the philosophical aspect of this particular policy. As the very title of my talk says, that relocating paradigm shift, how it is different from earlier policies. And second part of my talk would be the intellectual traditions of dialogics. That would be the main aspect of this today's talk. So let me initiate it. How it is a paradigm shift. Just one sentence I have extracted from the policy itself, that the implementation of previous policies on education has focused largely on issues of access and equity. So this policy also covers the access and equity aspect, but it has some other different dimensions. So out of the total reading of the policy, I just came out the five takeaways. That is, one part focuses on India-based knowledge. One part means not the part of the policy. The one aspect of national policy focuses that India-based knowledge. That is most important part, and the initial lines also begins with this word, this terminology, that India-based knowledge. And then you see that throughout the nation, various seminars and conferences are going on Indian intellectual traditions. So it doesn't mean, as Professor Avinash also pointed out, that this is not the first policy which is talking all such things, or neither earlier policies were not given any opportunity to do all such things what this policy is going. So it was always open, and the knowledge of India was always open for the people to acquire. But some other dimensions are also there, why this policy is important in this area. Second is the internationalization, which has been discussed by Professor Arvind also, the management people, and also by Professor Nash also discussed this part. Regarding the marketing or the market value of the education system and so on. And then third one is the impactful. Particularly this area belongs to education. Whatever is going on inside the classrooms, as it takes one statement from earlier policy and before earlier policy, that was there was a Kothari Commission in '66. From that policy, there was a very famous line which became sometimes the adage of all the other policies. That was that the future of India, the destiny of India is being shaped in her classroom. That was the, you can say, the defining line of Kothari Commission. So in that perspective, this policy gives utmost importance to the quality education, not only to the education, but quality education. And that quality is generated or created or to be taken care inside the classroom with the interaction with the learners and the teachers. So that is the impactful learning as well as impactful teaching, that very important aspect of teaching and learning. And then interactive, experiential learning, not only the learning from the textbook, not only the learning from the different resources available in absolute sense or in a static sense where no dynamism is available or no changes are allowed to do. The teacher just, you take the idea from the pedagogy of the oppressed by Paulo Freire, where the knowledge was just like a banking account. The banking concept of knowledge was there, where teacher is just putting the bulk or huge information inside the saving deposits of a student's mind. So that idea is not to be taken care, particularly in this particular policy. And the students' own area of learning, students' own interest is to not only interest, but also their own attitude, what they think, how they do, how they wish to change the world. So teacher would just be the focus area, and students now will try to find out what a teacher can create, and students will tell. Entirely the reverse concept is there. In earlier classroom, the teacher used to tell what you have to do. Now the students would tell the teacher that what they actually want, and teacher will have to transform his or her entire personality, whether inner or outer. And the fifth very important aspect is the inclusive. One of the participants also asked this question whether inclusiveness would be achieved by this policy or not. Here, I would like to address this question also by way of this fifth point: no discrimination in education for all. So inclusive education becomes very limited when we just think about those who are given opportunity in classrooms and those people belonging to especially abled or differently abled people and so on, such type of marginalized people like that. But here inclusive here means that your idea is equally important as well as my idea. Means mutual respect to the ideas, not the person. This is the inclusiveness where ideas are more important, and what ideas may be utilized for the welfare of society and people, and in turn the whole world. The ancient concept of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. So all the people would be happy if ideas are to be realized. Ideas are given more important. This is the inclusiveness of the ideas, as well as the inclusiveness of all the people from all the section, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, or region, or language, and so on. So different modes of learning are there. If you can't speak, then technology is there to help you. Just yesterday, I got a letter from, a letter was sent to the different universities of the nation. I think also got it, where it was instructed by the ministry that in higher education area, there is dearth of audio resources for visually challenged people. NCERT has already prepared and uploaded on its website thousands and thousands of resources for audio resources or e-content, you can say, in audio form are available for school education people. But no audio resources are available in higher education. So one letter was received in different universities yesterday. I also got in my department, and we just try to start how to do it. So how to create the audio resources. So that is one of the example of inclusiveness, that when you think for all, whether you say it is the concept of Sarvodaya or Antodaya, both concepts belong to the last person of the society, that if he is happy, she is happy, then the purpose would be fulfilled. Another important part is the vision of this policy. I have just extracted from the highlighted things. You may read it out, that rooted in Indian ethos, vibrant knowledge society, making India a global knowledge superpower, and curriculum and pedagogy are very important aspects where these ideas or these aims may be realized, curriculum and pedagogy of our institutions. And then deep-rooted pride in being Indian. Earlier, there were policies also there, but the basic difference, I'm not criticizing the earlier policies, they have also paved the way upon which we are working. But important thing is that just today we take the things from the West. And earlier it was the temperament just 10 years back or just 2 years back or 5 years back, you may say that even today, many people are of the view that whatever West is giving, only that is the best. But it doesn't mean West is creating. I'm not criticizing the West, but whatever West is providing us, whether it is to be modified according to our ethos, culture, or our need of society or not, or we are just taking it as it is without schematizing it, or you can say in every mind there's a schema. The psychology people also know it, and you have also heard it, this term while studying the psychology, that a schema is to be changed, one aspect, and things are to be adopted according to that schema. So earlier, what we used to do, and even today we are doing, that whatever is being provided to us, like I just give you the example of the pedagogy of the oppressed, and also the concepts from the Taylor's Commission, like learning to do, learning to know, learning to live together, and learning to do. In that way, you can say all these ideas were already available, but without a name. And when you think all such ideas coming from the other side of the globe, whether it is West or whether it is some other areas, whether from American side or from European side, you just take it as something new without investigating whether it would be suitable to our need, to according to the ethos of our culture or our own own the things but in which we have to do it. So this policy will impact the mind in such a way that India has something or most of the things which West has to adopt. Till date, we have been adopting whatever West was giving to us. But now India is exploring its own treasure of knowledge, and West and the whole globe will have to recognize it, adopt it. West was already adopting it, but it was not recognizing it. Like you see that yoga has been adopted by West long before. But when International Yoga Day was initiated on 21st June, can you imagine, did you know that the whole globe is celebrating it? The initiation, the initiatives were taken by our country. Earlier, it was also there in the West, but they were not recognizing it. So the question is whether we are recognized or not. Our things they are utilizing or people are utilizing, but they are not giving it. It is a kind of cultural plagiarism. If I'm not wrong, if I'm not very harsh to say, that cultural plagiarism was also there, but nobody was recognizing that India has such a vast treasure of knowledge. And you know, said CDRI earlier, I think Professor Nimish Kapoor was speaking. He's a scientist also, and you all know that India has to fight a long battle, the second battle of Haldi Ghati, the CDRI, because America has taken, I think, had taken the patent of Haldi and that turmeric, and that battle, the patent of Haldi, this is our own product, for taking it, you can say, back to India, we had to fight along. So that is also known as the second battle of Haldi Ghati. So all these things are there. That was the essence. I hope that you would understand what I'm trying to say. And other thing is the global and local. The combination of these two things are there, that India would not only recognize its own knowledge traditions, but also it will provide to the world. Like the concept of sustainable development, if you see that it was just it just got momentum after 1987, after Berlin Commission, and in 2005, I think the UNO started the decade for this education for sustainable development. And in 2015 onwards, the MDGs were merged up with the sustainable development concept, and we have now the 17 sustainable development goals to be achieved by 2030, and goal 4 is concerned with the quality education. And within goal 4, there are 7 or 10 parameters are there how to achieve these targets. So in that perspective, as you consider that the concept of sustainable development, it is a new concept to our minds. But if you just imagine those age where, if I just give you the examples, you would say that I'm a nostalgic, or I'm a stereotype, or I'm an orthodox person. If I give you the examples of the Vedic period, if you say that there were the gods who used to control the nature, like Usha were there, Aditi was there, Varun was there. Varun was the god of ethics. Can you imagine? Can anybody imagine that there are the gods? So in the forest also there were the Devi Aranya was there, and Ganga, Gangetic rivers are there, Gangetic areas are there. And we used to say our rivers as the Devis or the deities like Ganga or Yamuna. They were all the concepts. So whether they were really the gods, or we just pay homage to whatever they were providing to the people in that way. So it was the tradition of Indian culture. In Indian culture, whosoever is useful for the society, whosoever is providing his or her services for the sake of people, sacrificing his or her life for the sake of people, Indian culture and tradition is to pay heartiest thanks in the form of means giving respect or reverence to that person. So in that way, nature was also respected by our ancient forefathers, because they realized that nature is giving us so much. And that's why there was the concept of gods in order to protect them. If you just attach a religious concept to anything which is to be protected, it will be protected definitely. And you just take the example that nowadays in multi-story buildings in Ghaziabad or Noida, if you go there, so at the corner where stairs are meeting at the corners, people usually used to spit if they chew the tobacco or something. So all the walls, whitewashed walls, they become very dirty. So nowadays in many small cities, what is going on, because this lack of literacy, this type of literacy, that we should not make the walls dirty where our workplace, etc. So people used to put the stickers of gods or frames or certain religious lines, or from different religions, like from Islam or from Hinduism or from Christianity or Buddhism. So wherever people used to spit, they just all of a sudden they say, yes, a sticker of God, they stop spitting there. This was the ancient mechanism. When you have to protect something from destruction, you just give them a religious or cultural identity. In the same way, we saved our rivers, we saved our forest, we saved all other natural objects. That was the idea. And that idea is known as the sustainable development. So that we are today finding, when Europe came into existence, the entire forest was eliminated and big cities emerged. And now they are carrying the oxygen bag with themselves when they were suffering during this COVID period. India fights back because we have sustainability concept in our ancient traditions. So we knew how to cope up with it. In West, you see that people every month the health checkup is compulsory, but in ancient India, you see, and even some 10 years or some 20 or 25 years during my childhood days, I used to see one neem tree inside the courtyard of the people. And that neem, everybody knows it, that is the natural antibiotic. When there were the neem trees in our courtyards, we did not need to go to the doctor every month for health checkup. But now in metros, you see that in the cities, we are just cutting the trees and we are just creating the big multi-story buildings. And now we are just cutting the forest. And then after that, we are lamenting that there is less oxygen. And then we just go to the market and just purchase some bonsai or some plants which are oxygen plants, or like some snake plants, and then we put them in our balcony and we say with very proud that this is the oxygen plant after cutting the forest. This is the impact. What we have to realize, that in our intelligent culture some thousands years back, we used to do all those ideas of sustainable development, what now we are getting in the form of the policies from the West. Another thing is that is to be realized by this policy. Other things, the different dimensions of vision, some extracts are there, like this policy also not only very nostalgic in ancient traditions or ancient religion or ancient culture like it, but also it talks about the modern terminology, scientific terminology, big data machines, learning and artificial intelligence, or multidisciplinary mathematics, computer science and data science. And also you see that the words energy, water, food, and sanitation needs, and also the emergence of epidemics and pandemics. Because when this policy was being drafted in 2019, all of a sudden the whole world came in the contact of COVID-19. And then when the first draft was released during 2020, these words were also included in this policy, the emergence of epidemic and pandemics. And will also call for the collaborative research in infectious disease like management or the development of vaccines. And you see that India has become the largest country to provide the maximum number of people vaccinated people, largest number in the world. So these are the dimensions, different dimensions. And again, you see that the different dimensions, like more important is not what to learn, but more important is how to learn. On pedagogical aspects inside the classroom, the entire pedagogy are changing. Experiential, holistic, integrated environment, and discovery oriented, all such things are there. We all have discussed earlier speakers. And here you see that in not just education in general parlance. We normally mean by education that just getting the information or developing in some sense, or just the outcome in the form of skills or some experience or attitude or values and so on. But for the complete realization of the soul. That was the idea. But more important is the quality education. Paradigm shift in the role of teacher. I will take 5 more minutes. Do I have some time, Dr. Anubha? How much time I have?
2 minutes, sir.
3 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. I am just winding up. So not just education, but quality education, quality concerns, research in schools. I'm just skipping the slides, because last part is very important. These are all the things. Very important aspect of this policy is a well-cultured answer to Macaulay by this policy. Someone raised this question whether Sanskrit is mandatory or compulsory to learn for all the participants. So actually, Sanskrit is not mandatory. Professor Nash has rightly replied it for everybody. Along with Sanskrit, you may learn a number of things. But most important aspect of the policy is I've extracted is well-cultured answer to Macaulay by this policy. Sanskrit is also an important modern language mentioned in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. I'm just writing, possess a classical literature that is greater in volume than that of Latin and Greek put together, containing vast treasures of mathematics, philosophy, grammar, music, politics. In that way, because Macaulay realized the Indians and he brought the Indians into the inferiority complex that your culture is inferior to that of the West. So that's why this policy rightly answered Macaulay's that statement that we have also that ancient reader. And you see that treasure of knowledge in the form of the Vedic text and ancient Indian text. But this is not all. Dialogics in Indian traditions like Upanishads and epics, you see that different Upanishads are there, where dialogues are there. And dialogues are Yaksha and Yudhishthir, Draupadi in Mahasabha, and Shri Krishna and Arjuna and Sita and Raman. But not just nostalgia. We should not keep in mind that this policy only confines itself to the ancient Indian traditions. There is a feeling of nostalgia, but the continuity of Indianism is also realized. Buddhism, Jainism, epics, bhakti, and Sufism. It is this continuity is being realized in the modern, because in policy we find ancient and modern. In between there was a medieval. So medieval word is missing in the policy, but it doesn't mean that the whatever we learned in the ancient, it was transformed during medieval period, and then again in modern period we are reviving it, like Buddhist legacy of dialogics, like the questions of Milinda. This questioning is very important. And again, you see that these are some examples, but I will skip this slide. In modern time, we find such books are like Amar Sen have also written the Argumentative Indian to realize the ancient Indian traditions of dialogues. Then Mandan Mission, Shankaracharya, the 8th century book, and then Dhusharan Das, The Difficulty of Being Good. And again, in modern time, we find like 16th, 17th centuries, like Sufi and Bhakti traditions, you say the dialogues across the cultures. Kabir was there, Nanak was there, and Nizamuddin Auliya, certain other. And Dara Shikoh was very important. Dara Shikoh and Al-Baruni. Actually, they started the concept of Indology. Al-Baruni during 12th century the second part of 12th, first part of 12th century, he translated actually two great books of India, Yog Vashisht and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He translated it into Arabic. And then after 500 years of Al-Baruni, Dara Shikoh translated the 52 Upanishads in Persian, and he wrote one book, Majmul Bahar.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Actually, time is up.
Yes, I am just minding it. So these dialogues were also there, Dara Shikoh, between Lal Das and Dara Shikoh, and you see such were there. So thank you very much. Thank you very
much. Thank you, sir. Now it is question answer round. So over to Dolly, ma'am.
Now we do not have any such question which has come from the participants so far. So Manjusha, we may go for the word of thanks and thanking all the speakers, please.
Okay, thank you, sir, for enlightening us with all focuses on NEP.
I have a question. I have a question to sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Yes.
Ask the question, sir.
Hello, Siddiqui sir.
Yes.
This is Professor Singhal.
Yes.
See, I have a questions to you.
Yeah.
See, go back few years. You find BTC course was specifically designed for the primary teachers. Hello.
Yes, you are audible. Please continue.
For just few years back, now B.Ed, the people who have completed the B.Ed degree, they were also allowed to teach primary students. If you're looking this, national education policy,
yes,
how this problem is being addressed, because when you are allowing B.Ed people to teach, primary children, so I think the objective is not being met.
Actually, because I don't have the total idea, but now B.Ed is also going to be changed into the 4-year B.Ed program. So that would also include a primary and early child care education. That is, the entire structure of education is changing. 5+3+3+4. So in that way, ITEP or Integrated Teacher Education Program 4-year, it will also include the curriculum of early child care education as well as primary education. So
your voice is breaking. Yes.
Yeah, I was saying that B.Ed is going to be 4 years. So in that 4 years, B.Ed also includes that aspect of primary and early child care education. So maybe that would be the aspect. Otherwise, I don't have the total idea from NCT.
Over to ma'am.
Thank you, sir, for answering the question. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Neelam Singh, convener of this seminar, to propose vote of thanks. Over. Thank you, Manjusha, ma'am. I feel privileged again to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of IPEM Group of Institutions. Firstly, I would like to thank Professor Minish Kapoor, sir, for his courage to connect with us despite of facing the challenges of network issues, because presently he is in the area where network issues have not exist. So thank you so much for enlightening us using the technology in education, importance of digital libraries, and importance of interdisciplinary research. Thank you, sir. Further, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Arvind Kumar, sir, for enlightening us the importance of policy development and collaboration in multidisciplinary research and outreach. So thank you so much. Further, I would like to thank Dr. Arvind Dadi to tell us the challenges and loopholes in implementing the new education policy. I would like to thank Dr. Siddiqui for addressing the audience and throw the light upon the paradigm shift and focus on the curriculum and pedagogy, which is the main basis of the national education policy. I would like to thank our lovely audience for tremendous participation and interaction. I would like to thank Dr. Dolly Philipman for moderating the session. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our organizing team for conducting such a wonderful and informative event. I cannot thank everyone enough for their involvement and their willingness to take on the completion of the task beyond their comfort zone. So at last, I would like to thank everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. So thank you all for attending the session. After the vote of thanks, we move to the end of the session.